It's the Big Hit Station, first thing on a Friday morning, and it is an absolute pleasure to welcome onto the show right now a man who I think could lay claim at one stage to be the busiest man in show business, because if it wasn't his work with Ocean Colour Scene, he was out on the road with Paul Weller. If he wasn't with Weller, he was doing something with the Specials or doing his own solo sting. It's Mr. Steve Cradock. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you. Nice
Have you?
introduction.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you ever been called the busiest man in show business? That once upon a time that was just reserved for James Brown.
I mean, I've been blessed really that I've had a great musical journey, and I guess, but being busy is good also, isn't it? I think
it is, as the saying goes. And you're going to be at the Philharmonic on the 3rd and the 5th of April for an evening with, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But if I can just sort of go back to the start when it comes to your career, Steve, can I start with Weller, because this is where I actually first see you with Paul Weller. Do you still find it mad now that, because Paul was one of your heroes, or if not your hero growing up, wasn't he? Do you still find it mad that you're so closely associated with him?
Yeah, I never take it for granted. Really, he's Paul Weller, isn't he?
Yeah.
What can I say? But he's also this incredible artist that just keeps pursuing the next album or the next tour, and he's been relentless like that for all of our lives, I think.
Wasn't your first song that you bought Beat Surrender as well by The Jam?
That's right, yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I've been so lucky throughout my radio career that I've been able to catch up with, and I've met Paul myself, a lot of my heroes, and I still find that, even talking to you today, Steve, because I can remember going into a record shop and buying, I remember seeing you on stage with Paul Weller, but I remember going to a record store and buying many of an Ocean Colour Scene record and single, and I think to myself now, all these years on, wow, I'm talking to you guys. But for you, to the person who was a big influence on you, the first record you ever bought, to still be working with them and to be so closely associated with, must just be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is really, because you could have his pick of musicians and I still get asked back into the guitarist seat.
Yeah. Can I just sort of jump from Weller to you work with Ocean Colour Scene? I mean, you were part of what we look back on now as one of the greatest musical movements since the 1960s, the whole Britpop scene. How mad was that to sort of be involved with it?
Well, it started, I think we'd all agree, with the Stone Roses in 1989. Yeah. And I think the Lars as well were important. And then it went on to Oasis. They took over when the Stone Roses were finding it hard. And then it just captured the whole nation, I think.
You were actually on the bill at Nebworth, 96, with Oasis, weren't you?
Apparently so. It's a strange day, that is. It's almost like you speak to most people who played there and they can't remember. I can't remember much about it. It was Oasis at their peak powers, wasn't it?
Well, a lot of people say, don't they, that was the peak of Britpop, wasn't it? At that point, it sort of starts to slide off a little bit.
Yeah, but, what goes up's got to come down.
And what a period of time that was. Obviously, things were going absolutely amazing for Ocean Colour Scene. Your second album comes out, Moseley Shoals. Becomes one of the most iconic albums of the decade, one that I look back on fondly and still listen to this day. Everything sort of falls into place, doesn't it, for Ocean Colour Scene? Even TFI Friday, using the Riverboat song.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Simon all of a sudden became this incredible writer.
Yeah.
Writing songs like Fleeting Mind and The Circle and Day We Caught the Train. Well, I think the whole album,
Yeah.
he really found his writing chops, I think.
Yeah, it was such an inspirational time, wasn't it? There was so much going on, and we're in troubled times these days, but just the vibe, especially in the UK, and we had the Euro 96 with the football, it just felt like everything was falling into place, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a sweet moment for sure.
It certainly was. Okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to play a tune, one of the songs actually from that album right now here at Zest Breakfast, and we'll catch up on the other side, Steve.
Great.
It's the Big Hit Station. This is Zest Breakfast with me, Jeff, still joined on the show by Steve Cradock. Steve, we were talking quite a bit about Ocean Colour Scene in part one. I want to sort of move on to your one-man show, which is coming to the Phil. The first night is actually sold out, but there are still tickets available for the second night, which is on the 5th of April. There's a lot of people doing these shows at the moment. We had Huey Morgan from the Fundamental Criminals on a couple of weeks ago, and he's got something similar lined up. It's become a real thing, hasn't it, at the moment, these sort of audience with shows?
So there's a book coming out, which I'll be selling at the shows. And then generally, I think people do question and answer things, which I didn't fancy doing. I thought that there was enough.
Huey said this to us, and he said he couldn't believe some of the he didn't even think there'd be any questions for him, but he said he could spend like hours and hours because there's that many.
I get it with him; it works. But for me, I think there's enough answers kind of in the book, and then I'm going to play two sets, like I'm going to play 22 songs, ranging from quite a few Ocean Colour Scene B-sides that we don't play as a live group. I'm going to do an interesting version of the Riverboat song with just two acoustics and
Right. Okay.
sort of traditional folk way. So it's going to be quite an eclectic mix of songs.
Are you not going to do anything from your solo stuff?
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
And also as well, and I mentioned this before we went on air. I just don't know where you find the time at the moment. I know we were joking around about being the busiest man in showbiz, but you're everywhere this year. You've got the Ocean Colour Scene stuff. There's two tours, isn't there, with Ocean Colour Scene that you're going to be going on this year?
We do it well. We're touring Europe for the first time in like 10 years or something, I think, which
Yeah.
would be great. And then we've got the big tour at the end of the year.
And also, as alongside that, you're going to be touring with Weller. I mentioned to you, I'm going to be attending the show that you're doing at the Pier Head in June. Do you know what I was going to ask actually about Paul Weller? Because I met him back in 2010, I think it was. He was playing the CIA in Cardiff, where it was backstage. And it was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my life because I was terrified, not about what we were going to talk to him about, although we want to impress him. I was terrified about what to wear. And you know what, Steve? To this day, I am convinced Paul hated the shoes I was wearing. All these years on.
What shoes were they?
They
What
were
shoes were
like
you
brown.
wearing?
They were like brown, sort of like.
Be more descriptive. What make were they? What did they look like?
Casual sort of ones, bit like loafery type ones. If I think back.
Nothing to worry about. He'd have loved them.
Would he? Well,
yeah, he was probably staring at them to work out where they came from.
Yeah, well, the thing is to this day, I've thought to myself, oh, God, I've let him down. I've disappointed him. And people ask me about my regrets, and if anything you're regretting with your career, I'm like, yeah, I haven't impressed Paul Weller.
With your shoes, he's the Messiah, isn't he?
He is.
You know, if you're into your mod stuff and clothes and music, then he's the Messiah. Talk about clothes and shoes. I once got thrown off the tour bus for wearing army trousers, like the big bags that we used to wear back in 89, 1990.
Yeah.
He was going, "What are those?" I said, "The Stone Roses." I was going, "The Stone Roses wear them." He was going, "Get off the bus, guys." So I had to go and change. So he has been in the past the mod police.
Yeah.
But it's all fun, isn't it? It's just banter.
Oh, well, you know what? I was going to end this interview with begging you to let me go and meet him backstage so I can have another shot at it. But you know what? I feel a little bit better about it now, so maybe I can just leave it at that.
Come and meet him anyway.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. Now I'm starting to think about not what record I'm going to play next year at Zest Breakfast. What am I going to wear as well? Oh, so many questions. Anyway, Steve, you know what? Thank you so much for coming on the show this morning. We'll put all the links to how you can get tickets to go and see you in your one-man show. And if we don't see you at that, we'll be seeing you on stage with Weller, or we'll be seeing you on stage with Ocean Colour Scene. But it's been a pleasure to have you on the show this morning. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice one, man. Thank you for your time as well. Nice one.
Take care. Mr. Steve Cradock.